Calicat, the Calicaster, and this is a review of Star Trek Lower Decks episode 9 this season, third season. Trusted Sources. They return to Lunar, the planets from the Symbiosis. From Symbiosis. That whole story has an interesting backstory that goes with that, but let's get into the episode first. They go down to the planet. They visit the planets. The crew is acting crazy. There's a reporter on the ship, so it's kind of like one of those, like, it's a mockery of those reality TV show kind of things with a person with a camera running around. So it's a mockery of that. It's not really silly in space. Some of it is Pathfinder, the Cillian stories, because it is they reference the second uprising of the Breen. It's similar to the second uprising of the Dominion. They reference that. An automated ship, the Texas class. But yes, so during this reporter thing, apparently Mariner annoys everyone to the point that they kick her off the ship to send her to Starbase 80. Meanwhile, the Anarians have given up the drug, this Felicium drug. The Anarians have given up the Felicium drug, so now they're at peace with each other and stuff, and there's something weird about that, and they don't really go there with the rest of that. It's almost like this is a part one. But on Brekka, they've apparently it's a wasteland, and there's like people running scared, and there's Breen there. They're attacking. So that's it. They fight with the Breen, and then there's this other ship that shows up, the Texas class ship, that shows up and fights them off. So that the Admiral guy, who's the Admiral dude, is basically some kind of weird. He's basically Clark from Star Crackers, but sort of, kind of. But yes, sort of, kind of. No, maybe he's not Clark. Maybe he's like he's like Buffkin or something. Let's see his Buffkin. That'd be funnier. But yes. There's a security guy who keeps from going in the room. Looks a little bit like they animated a Timinus, a Tim Cantrell, or possibly, it wasn't really me. It didn't look like me. It looked more like Tim. So anyway, there's a Tim in it. There was a pie eating contest that's destroyed. It's right out of the original. Right out of On Location. They've been reading On Location books. But there's been other movies with pie eating contests. So, neither here nor there. They destroy the pies. They make reference to bowels and diarrhea. Although I thought that was Bulmer that originally had the diarrhea problem, and not Beckett. But they switched roles. Anyway, so yeah. A little spoilery review. Just what I thought of it. At the time, it was. It was one of those reality TV reporter episodes. Be similar to all of Cillian Realms, basically. The whole idea of the Cillian space and the characters and everything. She gets assigned to the starbase, but then Beckett apparently dropped out. So we don't know what happened to the two planets. We know that the one planet is okay. They quit cold turkey, and they but the other planet is a disaster, and it's devastated. The backstory of that was originally a spec script by David Geraldton, called Blood and Fire, which was later done as an animated, later done as a episode of Star Trek New Voyages, or Continue, one of those. New Voyages, I think. Star Trek Phase 2. Yeah. And as a fan film. But earlier, this was originally the script of Symbiosis. So if you watch that episode of TNG, he was on the staff. He wanted to write this episode about AIDS. These characters are taking an AIDS drug, and it's killing them because the drug is like they've become addicted to the drug, even though the plague has stopped. So it's AIDS. That's what they're talking about. And the story was going to have like two gay characters in the 1980s, in 1987, on Next Generation. Roddenberry was kind of okay with it, but his lawyers and his other people and the producers above him were like, no, we can't do that on network syndicated television. We can't do that. We just can't touch that. It's too toxic. So we're not going to touch that. So they didn't want to do it. So he left the show. But they took the idea, the David Gerrold idea, they dumbed it down to, just a plague that affected them. It's like completely dumbing down the narrative. Although it is funny that Merritt Buttrick, who played David on Star Trek II, was cast as one of the Norians. Interesting. But yes, Buttrick. It's a coincidence that his name sounds kind of odd, but that's just his name. But yeah. So yeah, Symbiosis was originally a David Gerrold script. Yes. There's something about that David Gerrold script and story. I learned more about it at the convention at Silicon 2022 when it was discussed. Yes, discussed it with him. Yeah. That was the two. He wrote another one too. Blood and Fire was the other one. But yeah, this was they got to be that. They rewrote it. Lee Tormey and the others rewrote it. So this was a sequel to that episode, or a follow-up, but not really, because the Marines show up, and then it becomes an episode of silly Star Trek Realms Pathfinder, silly Trek. It becomes something else entirely at that point. Yeah, so, yeah. Maybe the Admiral guy is supposed to be Mark Carnes. No, I think he's probably supposed to be somebody from Star Trek, the Admiral guy. I think it's actually not one of us, because we weren't actually there in it. He's supposed to be somebody from Star Trek. But we're saying he's Lantos, but he's not. It's not important. But clearly she goes off with the Beckett goes off with the sort of daughter of Vosh character at the end to go off on adventures and stuff, designs. But we're only in the 9th episode, and there's one more next week, and that's the same week that premieres a new Prodigy episode. So a brand new second half of the season of Prodigy. And for the okay, so we're going to do a reclosing of this episode. We were talking about the other thing that that's apparently the person playing the reporter was somebody from Parks and Rec, a comedian. Yeah. The other guy was not supposed to be Tim. The guy in the just kind of looked like him. The Admiral guy is not Lantos from Cillian Space, but acts a little like him. So anyway, that would clear that up. Yeah. And this episode was not written by David Gerrold. the original was, yeah. Actually, Ben Waller wrote this. Ben Waller wrote it, this one. Yeah. Anyway, so don't know him. Anyway, so yeah, that was Trusted Sources. That was the episode, and yeah, it was fine. It was silly, but they call the crew silly, so they're Cillians. Oh yeah, yeah. So it's odd because it's like I don't think we ever met these guys, but we're clearly on the same wavelength. Fan film stuff. So go find Cillian Realms on Amazon, and you'll see how similar it is. She could have been a reference to a character from the Cillian Realms story, Fish Out of Water, where the crew of the Cillian ship in 2380's time period, same time period, she goes back into time to 2380. He goes back in time to around 2008 and visits the planet and visits the ship and visits the planet, and they go to Earth and they visit the Spartan Daily reporters and such. You know. But I don't think that they did. I think it's more a reality TV show, Parks and Rec spoof. That's probably what it is.